So I thought I made myself pretty clear last night when I gave as many of you know, I've got an ex old bitter cat lady that can't let go, right? After 25 years, she's not been able to maintain any meaningful relationship with another man because she can't shut up about me and they don't want to hear it. Anybody she would start dating for a little while, every time she gets that seventh beer down, get to hear her sniffling and snotting and crying about me. And, guys don't want to hear that shit. And for 25 years, she hasn't processed her broken heart over me leaving her high and dry after she lied about who she was and couldn't put the brown bottle down. And so, the excuse for her originally going on Rusty Truck Photos Fairy Tale channel was to defend herself, which was nonsense because on one of my earliest podcasts, I was just telling my story, what I went through. And I said, yeah, I was married to somebody, drank, I had to get divorced. Never mentioned a name, never mentioned a location, never mentioned a date. Nobody would have ever known who it was. But she busted her ass to go over there. She has been slandering me to anybody willing to listen since I left there. And, it seems odd, Crack Squad, if I was this horrible, abusive, wife-beaten lunatic, why did I have to leave her? Why didn't she leave me? How's that work? Why is she still clinging on to me? Why ain't I chasing after her and watching her and all bitter and, it seems odd. I'm remarried for 22 years. No abuse in my home. And she's had multiple DUIs, multiple domestic violence calls to her home. Multiple. I'm talking like 8, 9. None to my house in 22 years. And you all heard me. I have been very gracious, when she went on that podcast, snot drunk. And when I mean slobbering drunk, she couldn't form a sentence. And I don't know, Cheryl Conan, if you've listened to yourself. I suggest you get sober for an hour and then go listen to what the shit you were saying on that podcast and how just pathetically drunk and bitter and there isn't a person outside of that little circle jerk of immature men that don't see you as somebody that won't let go. You're just some old bitter ex cat lady because you can't keep a man and you can't get me out of your head. So you've all seen me give her the opportunity to move on, right? I didn't, even when she went on there and slandered me, I didn't retaliate. I just let it go. Only to find out that this entire time, almost a year now, she's been over on New Cuck's channel, just having a good old time, trash mouthing the ever living shit out of me. So I'm going to teach her a lesson about trash mouthing people because, it's a two-way street, right? And now here's the difference between her slobbering drunkenness and what I'm about to tell you. I got receipts and lots of them. So I'm going to start by telling you she's probably the worst mother that I've ever heard of. Outside of a mother that was physically abusive, I don't know how it could get any worse. She has 2 children. She didn't allow either child to know their father or his family. Both kids, she did the exact same thing to. Kept them from their father, kept them from an entire side of their family. That's bad enough. That you can't put your spite away long enough to allow your child to know a whole side of his family, because you didn't just cheat that child out of knowing me. You cheated him out of knowing his grandmother, his grandfather, his aunts, his uncles, his stepbrothers, his cousins. You know, his aunt, you know, my son, I think I mentioned that to you guys before, is into music. His aunt made a living playing music. His aunt and his uncle both made a living playing music. My sister's an incredible musician, pianist, guitarist, can sing like an angel. My brother can play bass, guitar, drums, sing like crazy. He used to do a whole Elvis thing that was just mind-blowing. And she cheated him out of knowing those people because she couldn't get over me. And, you know, as I said, I married my high school sweetheart, my first wife. We dated all through high school and then broke up and got back together and broke up, got back together. And then we eventually got married after living together for a couple of years. And she had a brain aneurysm that changed who she was. And she was prescribed Percocet, Xanax, and hydrocodone. And she got terribly addicted. And I was working a job that had me out of town 4 or 5 days a week, actually a dream job, working for a pipeline system as a fleet director, and over almost 120 people. So, and one of them was Stephen Reese. Crack Squad, I want you to listen to me, okay? Stephen Reese from McGuffey Lane worked under me at Pipeliner Systems. Go ask him. So, anyway, not to get too far off in the weeds with that, she got addicted to pills and was not about herself. After she had that brain aneurysm, it took her a year to regain her memory. And then once she did, she's got this raging addiction going on. And this was before the state was regulating, any of the pills the way they do today, and opiates and stuff. And so she was cross-prescribing with like 4 different doctors. And my childhood friend that I grew up with was also addicted. And they were like trading pills and selling pills and shit while I'm out of town. And I came home early one day and caught her in bed with him. And so I divorced her. Now, although things were a little bitter in the beginning, she quickly got over that and made it just about the kids and like it's supposed to be. Never stood in the way of me visiting my kids. Never played any head games like that at all. And the only car she has today is one I gave her. And her family is estranged. And her mother lives in a completely different part of the country. So she didn't have anybody. So I've always been there to help her when she needed it. I've went and sat in the hospital while she was getting surgery all night. Even my wife that I'm married to today has very graciously done that for her. Has picked her up, taken her to doctor's appointments and everything else. She's now in hospice care in a nursing home. I was very starved for affection when I met this creature that I ended up with for a very short while that still can't get over me today, right? And I waited till my divorce was completely final before I even went out, right? And so, I kid you not, the first night I go out to a bar, in 2 hours, I was in bed with her. From going to the bar, 2 hours later, I was in bed with her. She approached me, took me back to her apartment, and we had sex. First 2 hours I knew her. Now, I'm not going to hold that against a woman. They're, in my opinion, they're allowed to sow wild oats the same as anybody else, right? I mean, we're no better than they are. The only time I would take issue with it is if it was a habit, right? If you were doing it with a different person every other night, then now we got a problem. So, that being said, there was, I'm at a point in my life where I'm divorced. I've got no debt. I've got a company vehicle that I bought from my company that's mine, lock, stock, and barrel. I got no fucking bills, no nothing. And I'm making $52,000 a year plus bonus in 1996. So I don't have a care in the world. And so she tells me that she's got this other job offer in Mississippi. And, it'd be kind of cool to go there and rent a place together and kind of see where the relationship went to. Like, not like some big, heavy commitment thing, but let's just see where it goes. And we'll share bills and whatnot. And that sounded appealing to me. So, fresh break, do something different. With the type of job I had, I'd go anywhere. And I was employed the day I got there in Mississippi. I had a job, right? So, I rented this house. And the deal was we were supposed to split the bills. That was the original deal. Well, we had a joint checking account down there, but the only money that ever went in it was mine. My check was electronically deposited in that account. Unbeknownst to me, she had an account she maintained in Wisconsin. She had a house that she took from her first husband that was 40 years her senior. And she couldn't afford the house. It was a $1,500 a month mortgage. And so there was no splitting the bills. She's electronically depositing her check in Wisconsin, paying for this whole house while her mom's living there unemployed. She's paying not only for the house payment, but the electric and all that shit. So she didn't have any money left to give me towards the bills there in Mississippi. But I didn't like it, but I was going to tolerate it just to see where things went. I was so intellectually starved because my first wife having that brain aneurysm, having some serious memory problems, and then the pill thing, there wasn't much conversation worth having for quite a while. So I sort of tolerated that for a bit. But as time went on, 2 months in, red flags are starting to pop up. Okay, 3-4 nights a week, she's coming home 4 or 5 hours late, drunk. Going out to the bar with male coworkers. Said it 100 times, I didn't drink. I got off work, I came straight home. That's exactly where I wanted to go, was straight home. And let me tell you how simple of a guy I am and content-wise. My recreation, get in a car and take a ride in the country down a road I've never been down. And so I'm already going, man, 4 or 5 nights a week you're getting fucking smashed. But I'm still at a tolerant state. I'm tolerating it, seeing where it's going to go. And then all of a sudden I learned that her daughter ran away from home when she was 12 years old and moved in with a 38-year-old man. And her, the drunk, and her mother, who was dating a married man, decided that they wouldn't get the police involved. And nobody laid eyes on this child for 4 years until she showed up at my house in Mississippi pregnant at 16 with a chip on her shoulder the size of a concrete block. So now I'm into something I didn't sign up for, right? And this child was not only incredibly disrespectful to me, but she was very disrespectful to her mother. But her mother's drunken mothering and parenting skills were such that she thought, let's just tiptoe around her and not offend her because I don't want her to run away again. I just got her back. So she just let this child run hip shot all over her. Wouldn't say shit to her. And it's not setting too well with me. It's already against my moral fiber that they let this grown-ass man hold this little girl in his apartment for 4 years. He had her a bed in the closet where she would go hide when someone came over. Her mother knew all this. They knew the guy. They knew where he was living. And now, after knowing, I can stand here and tell you guys, look you straight in the eye, I never saw one of her paychecks. I couldn't tell you how much she made. I don't even know what the bank was called where her check was being deposited. All I know is my check was being deposited right there in Mississippi, and that's where all the bills were being paid out of. And once in a blue moon, if she had to kick a little money in there, she was a devil before daylight. And she started telling me what I could do with my money. Like we were married or something. Here she is maintaining a whole household, letting her mom live there rent-free, paying mortgage, rent, or mortgage, insurance, trash pickup, electric bill, water bill, all that. And she's going to start yakking to me about spending $30 on something when I'm making $52,000 a year salary plus bonus. And I don't have any bills anywhere. That's my whole life right there in Mississippi. Psst, right there. And so that wasn't setting too well. So I was this close to just fuck this. What do I need her for anyway? I can go live anywhere I want. And I had a great big Snap-on toolbox, big one, that was going on about 18 years old, and it was a bastard to move. You had to get a tow truck to move it. And I wasn't wrenching anymore as a manager now, and so I would maybe need some tools on site, but I didn't have to have this big, massive toolbox. I could downsize. And so I traded that in on a newer one that was smaller, but newer and easier to move around. And the minute I did that, all of a sudden my tools became her tools. Here I am. I'm 40 years old. I already been a mechanic since I was 16 professionally. And now all of a sudden my tools are her tools because I traded my box in and got a different one. While I was just living with her, we weren't even married or anything. And she still tells that lie today. Don't you, Cheryl? Don't you tell that lie. That big fucking lie. And the minute she started pulling that shit, I was done pretty much. And so now here's the mouthy 16-year-old there, pregnant by a man that's in his 40s now. And all of a sudden I find out I bought $340 plane ticket for him, the 40-year-old P, in my opinion, to come down and be with her when the baby's born. So then the minute she turns 18, they can get married, because she was just about 17 when she got there. And I'm telling you, this went against every shred of my moral fiber. I was not sure I could even tolerate looking at this guy, let alone having him be in my house. And they did this shit without even asking me, and wrote the check out of the bank account with my money in it. Now, Cheryl, you know your check was never one time put in that bank account. And you know I've got that. I got, when you started your bullshit, laying claim to everything I ever had before I met you, yeah, I got all that stuff. Trying to claim my tools. Because you lived with me for 6 months. Isn't that what you did? So I've got that, all of it. And you'll clearly see every bill in Mississippi was paid out of that account, and the only money that ever went in that motherfucker was my paycheck. Got every deposit and every paycheck stub. Cheryl. Liar. Drunk. Shitty mother. So I finally give in and going to let this son of a bitch come down there so he can be there when the baby's born and they can get married when she turns 18. And I'll admit there was a tiny bit of selfishness with that and thinking, well, at least she'll be the fuck out of my house. Fast forward about 4 days. And I come home from work early one day not feeling good. Now, it's important for you to know that I know, Crack Squad, this is hard for you guys to imagine because you're just lazy, worthless pieces of shit. I couldn't wait to go to work in the morning. I loved my job. Absolutely loved my job. Loved going to work. Wouldn't take a day off unless I had to. So if I came home from work early, you could bet your ass I ain't feeling good. And I come home, and there's this car with Louisiana license plates on it sitting in my driveway. And I walk in the house, and here's this dude in his 30s from Louisiana in bed with the pregnant 16-year-old. And they're going at it. I literally slung the door open. And there they are, smashing in my house. A grown-ass man. A 16-year-old. And, buddy, I lost it. Now, in addition to the fact the baby daddy's supposed to be coming and they're going to get married, she's invited this strange dude from the internet into my home and is getting it on with this guy. And I'm telling you, I lost it. And not in a physical way, but just, buddy, I was mad. And Mother of the Year, the drunk, instead of being a united front with me saying that is unacceptable behavior. You could put us in a lot of danger inviting some stranger from the internet into the house in the middle of the day you don't know from Adam. That guy drove 6 hours to get there. The mom is like, well, we can't really, I don't want her to run away again. And so I just got her back and I don't want to, and so let's just just calm down. Maybe this guy's better. That was literally her mom's response to this, that maybe this guy's a little better than the other adult man messing with a child. And they actually thought I was going to lie for her so the other baby daddy wouldn't be mad. And that was the first big argument, fight, whatever you want to call it, we had. And so she takes off and leaves. Now, in the meantime, her and the daughter have made arrangements for this other guy from Louisiana, mid-30s age, to come to dinner while the baby daddy is about to fly down to be there when the baby's born and to marry her. He's in his 40s. This guy's in his mid-30s, and this girl's barely 17, pregnant. Been living with an old guy since she was 12 years old, with no police involvement. I think they all should be in jail. I think Cheryl Conan should be in jail. I think her mother should be in jail. I think the guy she was with should be in jail, all for permitting child abuse. That's my opinion. That's my moral fiber. But behind my back, they invite P guy number 2 to come drive another 6 hours and come to dinner. And they just totally disrespect. I come home from work and here this motherfucker is sitting at my goddamn dining room table. Isn't that right, Cheryl? Isn't that what you did? Mother of the year. No wonder that girl's strung out on dope. What chance did she have with you as her mother? We won't even talk about the 2 foster. Her first husband, who was 40 years her senior, had 2 adopted little girls when they got married. And the drunk treated those kids so poorly, they both ran away at 11 and 13. Dare you to deny any of it, Cheryl? Dare you? I gave you the opportunity to shut your mouth and leave me the fuck alone after 25 years. And you thought it was a joke. Well, I'm done. My patience has ran out. You guys sitting over there fueling this shit, throwing the P word around, telling people I was caught in the park with another man. You're going to get it. You're going to get yours. That's what you're going to get. In the meantime, insert Charlie. Charlie is a male coworker. Now, folks, we've only been there for 5 months. 5 months. And this Charlie guy is staying in a hotel and this Charlie guy is staying in a hotel He's contracted to this company she's working for to install new computers. And on the night she wasn't coming home shit-faced, every night she came home, all I heard was Charlie, 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 Charlie. And all of a sudden, Charlie's driving her car. She had her own car, and then she had a company car. He didn't have a car. She's letting this guy drive her car. He's only been working there like 2 weeks. And now he's driving her car. Now, didn't ask me. I started noticing the car wasn't there. Where's the car? Oh, Charlie's driving it. Charlie, Charlie, Charlie. My day off, Sunday drive. Charlie, 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 Charlie. That's all I fucking heard. So when I said it's either me or you, after she invited the second P guy to dinner, she takes off and she's gone for 2 weeks. I never mentioned it to her. I never told her. But I know exactly where she was at, in his hotel room for the entire 2 fucking weeks. Exactly where she was at. Wasn't you, Cheryl? Wasn't you? I'd already made up my mind then that this thing's not going nowhere. So I need to protect myself a little bit, because with this shit that was going on with her, starting to talk how my things were her things, and starting to act like my money was her money and she could tell me what to do with my money. And this bitch had the gall to go clean that checking account out and close the account. And the only money or anything that ever went in that account was mine. Didn't you, Cheryl? Oh, and there's a paper trail. Isn't there, Cheryl? And then I come home, she's got all my shit boxed up. Yet I'm the one paying all the bills in this motherfucking place. So I rented a storage unit to put my tools in, put my boat in, various belongings and shit. And I took 3 days off from work, went home to visit my parents for a couple of days, and then was just going to rent me another place. Just get the fuck away from her. Well, then all of a sudden she pours on the fucking tears and the shit, and she's going to fix it, and she's going to do right, and all this shit, because now she's pregnant. Now she's pregnant. And she's going to do right. She's going to do right. She's going to do right. Isn't that right, Cheryl? Isn't that right? You know, her own daughter don't even talk to her. She hates her. Hates her fucking guts. For not being a mother. Now, we'll just call this episode 1. We'll call this episode 1. And there's lots more to tell. And I'm bringing receipts. You know, I learned so much. You see, not only was her daughter very mouthy and disrespectful to me, but she was mouthy and disrespectful to her mother. And every time she got mad at her mother, she told me all her mother's tea. I find out she was a big, huge heifer that got some surgery to lose a lot of weight. Never told me that. I find out her mom's dating a married man that's got a whole family with kids and shit. I find out her sister had 2 illegitimate children from 2 different men. And she married a guy, talked him into adopting those 2 kids, and then she divorced him and nailed him with child support. And so now I'm like, she doesn't even come from good people with morals. And then the first time I set foot in the house that she took from her first husband, I'm seeing all that guy's shit. I'm seeing his fishing poles, his boots, his hunting outfit, his Carhartts, his tools, all his man stuff is still there. She kept all that guy's shit, man. She even took his life insurance. Now, these are all things I'm learning after I've been living with her for 6 months and now she's pregnant. So let's just recap and then episode 2, right? Sex on the first date, moved to Mississippi with her, coming home drunk after hanging out with male coworkers in the bar till all hours of the night, 3 or 4 nights a week. Find out her daughter left home at 12 to go live with a guy that was almost 40. No police were ever involved. Her and her mother both knew where the guy was at, knew where she was at, but didn't want to hurt her feelings by getting the police involved because she might run away again. Found out that Charlie is driving her car around like they're dating or something. I find out we're not splitting the bills in Mississippi. She's got a bank account in Wisconsin. That's where her check goes. She's got a whole household. I had no idea she had a $1,500 a month mortgage when I agreed to move in with her. Daughter turns up pregnant, only to cheat on baby daddy that's on his way to marry her on my dime with some other guy, brings some other guy that's damn near 40 from a whole state away, a 6-hour drive, to come hump in the middle of the day, and mom's okay with it. So much so that she invites the guy back for dinner when he should have been on his way to jail. And then we find out when she left for 2 weeks, it was Charlie. Wasn't it, Cheryl? Now I'm going to tell you again, you feckless cunt, you drunk. Get my name out of your mouth. Move on with your life. Get sober long enough to process your broken heart over me and find something else to think about. You shouldn't even care what I do. You shouldn't even want to know. You don't want episode 2? Then that's what you do. You get my name out of your mouth and you just go away. And no, you're not a victim. You asked for this. Didn't you? Nobody would have known who you were when I wasn't trash mouthing you when I told my story. I was just talking about what happened to me. No name mentioned, no location, no state, no nothing. Very respectfully. But I'm going to tell you something, folks. You don't know. This is nothing for what you're going to hear. I mean, nothing. So, ball's in your court. If I was you, I'd move on. That's what I would do. I'd just move on. Get over me, lady. So just for a teaser heading into episode 2, when the drunk was with me, we lived here in Mississippi, 42 Winchester Drive, Columbus, Mississippi. And then in Wisconsin, we lived here. But when I left her and she no longer had my money, she had to file bankruptcy, and she's been living here ever since. She made it a whole 3 months. Without my money. And this little trailer here, this little trailer has quite the history. This address has quite the history. That trailer had a gate. I think you all know how a 14 by 70 is made, where you got your kitchen, you got your living room, you got your bathroom, and then a long hallway with 3 bedrooms, right? Maybe a laundry room. There was a gate that sealed the bedrooms off from the living room and kitchen. A metal gate like you'd go through a fucking someone's security fence, so that she could lock our son out away from food. And for that, CPS took him from her. Stay tuned, folks.